Welcome back to the channel. So guys, we have some exciting news. I say that for every video, but for me, anytime I install parts is exciting. This video, I don't know exactly where I'm going to put it, but we are going to be working on the MR2. I've been getting parts here and there for this thing, and we're gonna try to get it running this month. Our mission today is to install pretty much everything you see here. We have an alternator we need to plug in, as well as the belts that are lying over there. We also need to see if we can get this intake from the previous setup, the stock 5S FE engine. We're gonna see if we can make it work with the K series. We have a vented little pod for the valve cover as well. And then we need to set up the cooling system on the MR2. So I do have this as well. This is gonna actually allow me to bleed my system. So we have so many things to do, so little time. It's already getting kinda late. So let's start installing things. We're gonna start with the easiest one, which is the pod filter. And then we move on to the intake and so on. So let's head out to the MR2 and let's start installing parts. This should actually be pretty easy. All we have to do is simply place it in there and tighten it, and we're pretty much good to go. Let's go grab something to tighten that, and that's it. Next, we're actually gonna install the intake from the previous setup. I think this intake will work. I'm trying to position it right at the vent of the vehicle. So the vent is right here. Air actually goes in here and it goes to the intake, which is right over there. I think the only problem we're having right now is the fact that it has this 90-degree bend here and the intake manifold is completely straight. So let's get rid of this silicone coupling right here and see if it'll work. If it'll work, I'm saving a lot of money, and this thing's a tad bit closer to running. So let's take the intake, remove the coupling, and see if that solves our issue. Moment of truth. Let's see if this will work. And it seems like, let's see, do we have a winner chicken dinner? And we do. Look at that. Heck yeah. Winner chicken dinner. Now let's install the alternator. So this thing's actually moving along very nicely. Let's see if we can actually get the alternator to work and put the actual belt on it, and then I'll feel a little bit more accomplished. So this thing's coming out pretty great, and I'm honestly super stoked. So let's see if we can install the alternator and knock another thing out of our little to-do list. We also have to do grounds. I kind of have one here already, so we have to do grounds next, and this thing is getting closer and closer to actually starting. Underneath the car, trying to tighten the alternator, working on these mid-engine cars is so difficult. As you can see, the alternator is already up there. I'm just gonna tighten it. Hopefully everything threads in. Last alternator I tried to put in would not thread in, so I'm starting to think the holes on the water pump housing are stripped, but we will see. Woo, I'm tired. Let's see if they actually thread it. I love this car. All right, so our mission now is to get my alternator working. In order to do that, we got to go to the auto parts store, just a hardware store. We got to get some spaces. For some reason, the alternator does not want to bolt up to that water pump housing. I got it from a K20. I don't know if K20s have a spacer. I'm assuming they do, because every other water pump housing I have is from a K24 cord, and the alternator doesn't require spacers, but for this one, it doesn't want to bolt on. So we're gonna go get some spacers. Hopefully the alternator goes on, and hopefully we can put a belt. So let's head out to the hardware store. Woo! And the Supra. Let it warm up a little bit, and let's go get a bolt or a spacer or a bolt.
My dumb self forgot the bolt, so we're just gonna get.
Well, boys, it's the next day, and I actually did get the alternator to work off camera. That was such a pain to do, and I hopefully never have to do that again. There's just barely any room to really fit any tools in here. The chassis is right next to the alternator. The back of the actual the firewall is really touching the alternator. Not touching, but it's getting really close. You really can't pull tools in there, and it was overall just a pain, but we did get it in. Well, guys, it's time to install the grounds on the MR2. Luckily, with the K series, you can install the grounds pretty much anywhere as long as it's touching the chassis. So well, boys, it's the next day. I actually just got a lot of more parts in the mail for the MR2. We're going to continue to work on this thing. My goal is to pretty much have everything done with this car. So all we need is a wiring harness and then she can turn over. Today's mission is a little bit more complicated because we do have a lot more parts. The first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to install a dipstick. I got an aftermarket one because this one has seen better days. I have no idea how this thing broke, but it did. So I did order a new one. We're going to be replacing that today. On top of that, I also have a brand new clean smaller filter. I don't like how big and ugly and dirty this one is, so we're going to be replacing this one with this smaller clean one right here. Here's a brand new one. We simply put it in there, and this thing, the fitment's a little bit too tight, and I think it's just because this thing is powder coated, so I do have to put a lot of force to get it to go in. But once it's in, it makes a really nice seal and it looks really, really nice, so I can't complain. I went with black. I think overall I picked a nice color. Unfortunately, the intake pipe is actually way too big for the filter. It's actually a tad bit smaller, so we can't run this. So in the meantime, we're actually going to be installing our booster line. This is going to make sure that we actually stop securely. I have this from an RSX, and I cut it to make it a little bit shorter. This should be perfectly fine. We're actually going to hook up the booster line from here to here, just these two little knobs, one on the intake and one on the actual line to the brake booster. So let's install them. Should be pretty easy. First thing we're actually going to do is install our actual coolant hose. You need to buy this adapter. I got mine from eBay. This is going to allow me to actually bleed the system. I already cut it to size. It was a random hose. If you want to know what I got, here it is. Here's the part number. Random hose. Like, I just saw that it was long enough and I bought it. I cut it to size. And yeah, so let's install it. This should, oh gosh, we need the hose clamps. Never mind. We need the hose clamps. We got them right here as well. We got everything, man. We got everything. Let's open this up and let's get this out. Needed my nails for this. There's one. Much better. We have the hoses, so let's just throw them in there. Yeah, this fitment is hard, really hard to work on this car. There we go. Just because it's mid-engine, so it's just somewhat difficult. Let's put our line up. We don't want to cut the line, and then we just, seems to be a little bit too long, so let's loosen our clamp a little bit. Good enough. Come on, baby. Oh wait, why do I have this sideways? Dummy. Right there. Next on the to-do list, we're actually going to install these coolant bypass caps. You can actually buy these at Napa. Here is the part number in case you want to get it. We're going to bypass, or we're going to block off all these ports that we're no longer going to use. Like this one was for the heater core. We're going to cap it off because we're not going to run the heater core. Plus, as you can see, this doesn't have the heater core where the stock K-series setups do, or the RSX or the TSX, they have it to the rear. We unfortunately can't use this, so we're going to cap it off with one of these. We also need to cap this one as well. I think this is for the IAC. I can't be sure, but coolant's going to come out of here, so we need to cap that one as well. We need to install our coolant adapter down here, and we need a rear coolant hose, and we should be done with the cooling system on this vehicle. So we're getting really close. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cap this off. Hopefully this fits because, oh nice, this is a perfect fitting cap because I just went to Napa and got like a random one. We definitely need to loosen that a little bit, so let's loosen it up. That should be good enough. Just there we go. Wow, perfect. This was actually super perfect. Now we're gonna tighten it because we don't want it to start leaking. We don't want issues down the line. So that should be pretty good. Honestly, it seems a little bit too tight, but rather be safe than sorry. So that one's completely done. Now let's do this one. Number 2. So as soon as this one gets tightened, we're good. Yeah, awesome. Now we have 1, 2. Now we need to jack up the car, and we need to do the bottom one as well. So find the radiator hose that will fit. I have this one that came from the top. It's one of these adjustable ones. We're gonna see if this one will work. It's kind of short, so it should work, and you can bend it into any direction you want. Let's see if this one will fit. If it's long enough, it is. I saved myself 150 bucks. So yep, time to jack up the car, do the bottom, and then we're a bit closer to finishing this car. So it's, man, it's coming along. Now that we're underneath the car, I can show you exactly what we're dealing with. This is actually the pipe that goes, why is it so loose? I don't like that. But this is the pipe that goes to the actual radiator all the way to the front of the vehicle. And this is our thermostat housing. As you can see, this is a very small section of hose that I'm gonna need. We're gonna just go for it and see if it works. This might be a little bit too big, so I might have to cut it a bit, but we'll see. If it has a loop like that, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, we might have to get a smaller one. So let's see what we can do. Yeah, this is way too long. As you can see, look at this. We would have like a very goofy, we would have way too much of an angle. We need this a lot shorter because we just need a small loop in between these two. This is way too long. I'm gonna see if I can cut it, and if I can't, we're gonna go to advance. Ugh, got stuff in my eye, and we're gonna buy one. So let's throw that. Let's get out of the underneath the car, and let's see if we can cut it to make it shorter. Well guys, I just came back from advance, and I found this random hose that I think will work because it does have the U shape that I need. I might have to cut it. No, I am gonna have to cut it quite a lot, maybe like this portion here, but this portion should work very well. Let's go underneath the MR2 and let's see if we can make this work. And sure enough, it worked. There's no crimps anywhere. There's a tiny one right here, but nothing too crazy. We're good to go, man. This thing came out really nice. So the rear one's done, the front one is done as well. We just need to put our coolant adapter, which is somewhere up here, and we should be done with the cooling system. So let's get out of the MR2 or under the MR2 and let's keep moving on. Well boys, it's pretty much the next day and I'm out of parts. This thing is pretty much ready to be finished. We're gonna do one more thing, and then all we have to do to get this thing running is order the wiring harnesses, which is about $1,200. Because this thing is practically done. The fuel system is done, the coolant system is done, everything is back together. We have the intake, we have the header, this thing, we have the grounds, the belts. This thing is ready to pretty much start for the first time. The only thing I'm missing is the wiring harness. We have the shifter. Like I said again, this thing is ready to run. And I think the first thing we're gonna do, or the last thing we're gonna do before I order the wiring harnesses, is actually fix the e-brake system on this vehicle. I have to record inside the garage because of the wind, but we're going to be installing this eBay. I bought it from eBay, this e-brake bracket. This holds the e-brake cables. When we put this thing on the trailer a long time ago, when we actually took it to Ricardo's garage to install the K-Series, it was so low going up the trailer that it destroyed my bracket, and I'll show you guys in a little bit. It destroyed my bracket, so my e-brake doesn't work, and that's just very dangerous. So we're gonna install this, get the e-brake working. We even have a brand new e-brake cable, and then this thing should be pretty solid and ready to go. And then we're gonna order the harnesses and get our first start. Well boys, unfortunately I could not fix my e-brakes after lifting the car up. I noticed that not only did the bracket rip off the car, but it also like broke the bolts inside the actual car. So I'm gonna have to either get a lift, take it to Ricardo's shop maybe later sometime when it runs, and like have them weld a nut so we can take it out, or even use a bit to take it out. So one of those extractor bits. So unfortunately I can't do it, so yeah. Now we just gotta wait on ordering the harnesses to finish this car. So I'm gonna end the video here. I know this wasn't super exciting, but we are getting work done on all of the cars right now. The Supra's running perfect. The Civic is running perfect, and I'm trying to get the MR2 done so we can finally turbo the Civic. So as soon as this one runs and drives with my daily this one, turbo this one. So yes, this right here is going to lead to turboing the Civic. So I had to get it done. Not super exciting, but it's something. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let me know what you think or what I should do next to the MR2.